All right, welcome to our stretching video at Newton-Wellesley Cardiac Rehab. We're going to be going through a series of about 10 stretches that we're going to do. Stretching helps to lengthen the muscles, which helps decrease muscle soreness. It helps with improving flexibility. It helps with improving your posture. So stretching is important to do after you've exercised. So as you're at home and you're doing whatever aerobic exercise you've chosen, whether it's walking or biking or the elliptical, you're going to want to do some stretching afterwards to help with injury prevention. So we're going to go through these stretches. The first ones are all standing stretches. We're going to hold each of the stretches for 20 seconds and repeat them 3 times for each leg or arm. So we're going to start with a calf stretch. So Cheryl, go ahead and stand at the wall. So your hands are going to come to the wall. You're going to take one leg. Let's all bring the left leg back. That left heel is pushing into the ground. The right knee bends into the wall. So you're feeling a nice stretch into that left calf. We're going to hold that for that nice 20-second hold. And it's important to keep the toes both pointed straight at the wall, just like Cheryl. Good. And then we'll switch legs. Step the left foot in, step that right leg back, toes pointing forward. That right heel is pushing into the floor as you're kind of leaning into the wall. And we're going to go ahead and switch legs again. So that's one on each side. We're going to do, again, 3 times on each side. So we need to hold the stretch long enough that the muscle has a chance to lengthen. And it's important not to bounce as you're stretching. That does not give the same benefit and can actually cause injury. So we want to keep that nice static hold there. Good, and that was 20 seconds. We're going to switch again. So you always want to be warmed up before you stretch. It's okay to stretch at other times of the day, but you want to be warmed up so after you've been walking around a little bit, after you've gotten out of a hot shower, those are ideal times to stretch after a workout. Great, switch legs. We've got one more on each side, so this is our calf stretch. Good. And you can see she's doing a really nice job keeping the rest of her posture upright. So you don't want to be bent over in this position. You want to keep the spine nice and straight. And switch legs again. And here's our last stretch on that right leg. It feels so good to stretch, especially after a workout. You end up feeling taller, looser. Great job. All right, the next stretch we're going to do is for the quad. The quad is the big muscle on the front of the thigh, in front of the above the knee. So what you're going to do is you can hold on to the kitchen counter or a chair, and you're going to bend up that left leg, try to grab hold of the left ankle, and you want to try to keep your knees together. You can see this one challenges your balance a little bit. So you're trying to keep the knees together as much as you can, and you're trying to keep the torso up straight. So when you're tight in this muscle, you tend to want to bend over. Good, and we'll switch legs. And we're going to show a modification in a second. So if you're having trouble with this version of the stretch, we're going to show a way that we can make it a little bit easier. And just like with strength training, we're breathing the whole time. So you're not doing a stretch and holding your breath, you're breathing, bringing in oxygen. As you exhale, think about like just letting go in those muscles, letting everything relax. Good, relax that leg down. So if you're tight, you can have a chair behind you. And rather than grabbing on it with the hand, you can just place your foot on the chair and get a stretch right through that quad. Can you just point to where that muscle is? Right through there. So you want to feel that stretch there in the quad. So it's important to relax your leg on the chair, and you can go ahead and switch sides. If you try to hold your leg up there, you can get like some cramping in the back of the leg. So you want to just, once you put your foot up there, let that foot be nice and relaxed. You can see she's standing up nice and straight, getting a nice stretch through the quad there. Good, and then we've got one more stretch on each side. So you can decide if the grabbing the ankle version works better for you, or if you like having it up on the chair. So if you can bring the knee back a little bit, that gives you a little bit more stretch than having the knee forward. Great, and we'll switch legs. This is our last quad stretch here. The quads work a lot when we're climbing stairs, climbing up hills. So it's, if you have an elliptical at home, you do the elliptical. And you've done any hiking, the quads really like to be stretched after those types of things. Great job. So the next stretch we're going to do is for the hip flexor. This is the muscle that brings the knee up towards the chest, high up on the thigh there, right in front there of the hip. So what I'm going to have her do is go ahead and step that left leg back. You'll be on your toes on that left leg. All right. And then she just did a nice job. You're going to try to keep that left hip facing forward, bend into the right leg a little bit, and then you're going to feel a stretch right through the front of that left hip. These muscles get tight when we sit a lot. And so a lot of us have jobs now where we sit more. As you're recovering from different cardiac procedures, you might find that you're sitting more. So it's really important to stretch out this muscle. Good, we'll switch legs. So you're going to step forward, step that other leg back. Make sure you kind of square the hips so both hips face forward. Good. This muscle also, it's important to stretch, helps prevent back pain. If we have nice open hip flexor muscles, these muscles actually go from the front of the hip all the way and connect to the spine. So nice and flexible. And we'll switch. Good. So we're going to step the left leg back again, on the toe, square the hips forward, lean into it. It's similar to the lunge exercise if you've done the strength training video. It's sort of coming into a mini lunge and holding that, we're able to get nice length through this muscle. And switch. And third time's a charm here. Coming into that hip flexor stretch. And you might notice the more you do flexibility training, the further you're going to be able to go. So you might be able to widen the stance so that the space between the right and the left leg might become greater, or you might be able to dip down a little bit deeper to have to feel the stretch. Good, switch. And if you don't have the flexibility, you bring the legs closer and you don't dip as deep. So always it's important to listen to your body as you're stretching. And back. All right, next we're going to stretch the hamstring. The hamstring is the big muscle that runs down the back of the thigh, right back there. Since you're doing this stretch, you want to make sure you're feeling it there. So what we're going to do is show a couple different versions of the hamstring stretch. So Cheryl, go ahead and step your left foot forward. Everyone's going to step their left foot forward and kind of be on your heel. And then she's sort of sitting back, sticking her butt out. And so her back stays nice and straight. Her left knee is straight. Her right knee's bent. And she's going to feel a nice stretch right in the back of that thigh there. And then switch legs. So it's important to know when you're stretching, the stretches should never feel painful. It might be an uncomfortable pulling sensation, especially if you're not someone that stretches a lot. It takes time to kind of get used to and work up into some of the stretches, but it should never be a sharp pain. If it's painful, you want to stop, you want to back off that stretch. Good. So you can continue doing the hamstring stretch that way if you're feeling a good stretch. If you need a little more stretch, you can put your foot up on a step. We don't have a step here, so we're going to show on a chair. It would be a little bit more difficult. But again, she's keeping her back nice and straight and feeling a stretch down the back of that thigh. If she wants to come forward, she's doing it with a nice straight back, so sort of sticking the hips back and feeling that nice stretch. Good, and switch. Bring yourself away from the wall so you're no longer leaning in. And then we'll go ahead and lean into the wall again. So again, we're taking deep breaths the whole time, never stretching into pain. If it's uncomfortable, lower your arms down. So go ahead and show with the arms lower. So that's going to be a little bit less of a stretch. If you want more of a stretch, you could reach the arms up higher and you'll get a little bit deeper stretch there. Good, and relax. Got one more stretch for the pecs, for the chest muscle. It feels so good to open these muscles. Good, and stand on back up. Great job. Our next stretch is for the tricep muscle. It's the muscle on the back of the arm. So what we're going to do is take your left arm, reach up towards the ceiling, bend the elbow down behind the shoulder blade. So that might be as far as you go. And you can hold there. Otherwise, you can take your right hand to the elbow and just stretch back a little bit. So as though you're trying to really reach down between the shoulder blades. Good, and then we'll lower the arms down, switch sides so that that right arm reaches up and then the hand drops behind the back. And then just kind of stretching a little bit deeper. And we'll go ahead and show the next one from behind so you can see what our arms are doing there. So go ahead and reach your arms down. Good. So it's reaching the left arm up, the hand comes between the shoulder blades, and then that right hand just kind of assists a little bit and gives more of a stretch. Again, you don't have to come up that high. If you have shoulder issues, we'll show a different modification that's a different stretch if you can't get the arms overhead. Good, and we'll switch sides. Do one more like this. And there's a tendency for the head to try to kind of fall forward. See if you can keep your head up as you're doing it. Nice. And then relax. Good. And then we'll turn face front again. So this doesn't get into the tricep quite as much, but we're just going to take the elbow and draw it across. So stretching through the back of the shoulder still. So if you have any shoulder issues where you can't get the arms up overhead, this is a nice option. If you don't have shoulder issues, you can continue with the version we were doing before. And we'll switch sides. Great job. What we're going to do now is a stretch for the spine. So we're going to do a rotation stretch. So you're going to sit a little bit forward in the chair and sit up nice and tall. And you're going to turn and face the left. So yeah, so your hands can come onto the armrest. If you don't have an armrest, you can put your hand on your knee and the side of the chair. And you take a nice deep breath there, just opening up through the spine and the chest a little bit too. See if you can relax your shoulders down. Good. And then relax to center, and then we'll switch and go to the other side. So these are nice to do. Anyone that plays golf, this is a nice stretch to kind of open up and loosen the spine. It feels really nice to stretch out these muscles, even if you're not a golfer. Tennis players too. Anyone who does a lot of rotations. Nice to get these stretched. Good, and we'll switch sides. And it's important, make sure you're keeping that spine nice and straight. See how her shoulders are back, her head's right in line there. You don't want to be like grounded as you're twisting. And then we'll come back to center and switch to the other side. And back to center. And then one more on each side. So if you have any issues with the inner ear and it's an issue for you to be turning your head, you don't have to, you can keep the head forward. And I would also recommend making that transition very slowly as you turn to just help minimize any issues with that. And we'll switch one last time. job. Okay, the next stretch we're going to do we call the figure 4 stretch. So this helps open up through the back of the hip. So what we're going to do is take the left leg, cross the left ankle over the right thigh if you can, and then keeping the back nice and straight. Think about kind of lead with the chest, and you can kind of come forward a little bit. And you'll feel a nice opening in the back of that left hip there. And we'll show a modification in a moment if you can't get into this position. Sit back up straight, uncross the leg, and we'll bring that other leg up. So you might find that you bring the leg up and your knee is way up here. That's okay. What you're going to do is use your hand to try to help guide the knee down. So you wouldn't be angling forward, you would just be trying to guide the knee down. So that would be one option. And we'll go ahead and switch legs. All right, so you can either come into that full version that we demonstrated, where you bring the leg up with the chest up, kind of bring yourself forward over the leg. And if neither of those options that we showed work, we have one more modification that we'll show you. So you may only be able to get that leg crossed over the shin. And that's okay. And from here, you can use the hand to guide the knee open. Or you can, if it's available to you, you can angle your torso forward a little bit. And you'll find the more that you do these stretches, good, we'll go ahead and switch, the more flexible you become, and it'll be easier to get into some of these positions. And we'll switch one more time on that left leg, or right leg. So this is a good stretch. Anybody that has issues with sciatica, opening up these muscles can really help with some of those symptoms. And again, you don't want to have pain as you're doing it. If you're having pain, you want to back off. And good. Cross the legs.